Welcome back to Dragon Age Origins. Long discussion with Morrigan coming.
What do you wish of me?
I'd like to ask you something.
If you must.
Can you teach others to become shape changers? No, actually I already have this available, but the game crashed before I could finish the conversation with her, so I had to start over. Did you grow up in the Korkari wilds? There's a problem with this shape changer skill that Morrigan can teach. In that she'll actually teach it when you have a low approval rating with her, but if you get a higher approval rating, she'll refuse to do so, which is a big bug in my opinion. Also with this conversation, well, it's a very interesting conversation, but you'll see once I get in the thick of it. Did you grow up in the Korkari wilds?
Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I?
Fine. I'll leave you be.
I did not ask to be left alone. I simply wondered from whence comes this strange curiosity.
We don't need to be strangers, do we?
What a stranger does not know cannot hurt him, but have it your way. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness.
And you remained unnoticed.
For the most part, Flemeth taught me well. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
Very daring. That sounds like you.
Equal parts daring and foolhardy, perhaps. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
That was quick thinking.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
I have no idea. I'm not human.
Do not speak to me of trivialities. Your culture is not so entirely different. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
Well, I'm glad it worked out this way at least.
Yes? Let's ignore the entire Darkspawn threat and the presence of a simpleton as your only other Grey Warden ally, then. Not that I lack appreciation for the intent of your comment. Thank you. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
They always say that, though.
Well,
What do you wish of me?
They're not sure what to do about it yet, he says.
What's to do? I thought you killed them.
What do you wish of me? If you must.
Have you ever been hunted by the Chantry?
You are very cute to ask so many questions.
And you're cute when you're evasive.
Really? Perhaps we should be wrapped in ribbons and adorned with flowers. So cute are we, too. My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more.
You really had no trouble with them.
I am unsure. I was too young to understand, and perhaps 'twas bravado on Flemeth's part, or perhaps she was merely amused. I will never know. Flemeth would warn them once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait, a little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Did you... No. Surely more would have followed.
Sometimes. Eventually. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere, and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
Do you still think this was fun?
I think that my mother made it fun so that a child did not learn to fear. And I think that it was necessary. There are no trials for apostates, no prisons, no mercy. There are only absolutes, so only survival matters. If the wilds have taught me anything, 'tis this. First, you must survive. Do you disagree?
Absolutely. There are worse things than death. Or... You're probably right.
An enlightened view, or at least an agreeable one. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand.
Easier said than done.
I await your command.
Go turning into gentlemen, I tell you.
I await your command. If you get closer to her, she says... And you romance her, she says, yes? You'll see in just a second. So life in the wilds must have been very lonely.
At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees.
But you eventually left.
Such simple pleasures will only enthrall for so long. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. 'Twas encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds.
I can't imagine Flemeth was pleased.
She was not. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken.
But you were just a child, or... yeah.
And a foolish one. Flemeth was right to break me of my fascination. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been.
But you don't need to live that way any longer.
Do I not? I am still an apostate mage, even if I have left the wilds. The Darkspawn are yet undefeated. No, there is much that remains. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality. I await your command. We are hardly alone, so privacy is not an option. It is your question, however. Ask what you will.
I think I fucked up, actually.
I await your command. So, full of questions, are you?
Yeah, I did fuck up. There's a way to start the romance. A dialogue option in there. But I did not pick it. And that's the problem.
What do you wish of me? If you must. Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless... In time, I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. I was unfamiliar with so much. He pointed and gasped and began Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
Touching like a handshake.
To begin with, yes. What is the point of touching my hands? I find it an offensive intrusion. There were many nuances that Flemeth could... I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
They always say that, though.
Well, this time.
Yes?
Uh-huh. And this is where I say that Morrigan is kind of forgettable. The way she says yes. And that's not even the biggest issue with her. The romance...
I thought you killed them.
Seriously, I'm just gonna wait until she says it in the game.
Time to go turning into demons, I tell you.
Right.
Yes? So, full of questions. You are... Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come... And then the true game began. Often Flemeth... I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. If the wilds have taught me anything... Yes? So, full of... Yes? A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror to teach me a lesson, Flemeth. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult.
Okay.
Yes?
Right, I'd like to discuss something personal.
We are hardly alone, so privacy is not an option. It is your question, however. Ask what you will.
Okay.
What's this? 'Tis a rather odd discussion you seem to desire, leaning in so closely.
Do you object?
Not unless you stop.
Uh-huh.
Yes?
Okay. I'd like to discuss something personal.
We are hardly alone, so privacy is not an option. It is your question, however. Ask
So,
what you will.
what do I have to do to get on your good side?
You are already on my good side, such as it is. Or do you seek something else? Something more intimate?
Okay. Okay, fine. I don't know, maybe I do. This is so bad, really.
'Tis good to know that you are capable of such decisiveness. Let me see. I would expect favor to come with a price. Perhaps you would be willing to pay a compliment. Is that too much?
You are brilliant and amazing.
I suppose stating the obvious will have to do. Very well, then. You are on my good side. Best watch your step that you don't fall off.
Okay.
Yes?
I'd like to ask you something.
So, full of questions, are you?
Is Flemeth really what she seems to be?
Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
A nutty old bat?
Sometimes I do wonder the very same thing. Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience.
I didn't even know there was such a thing as a story of Flemeth.
Ah, I see. That does explain much. I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire.
Alright, but make it quick. No, that sounds interesting.
As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her.
Not true then?
No, quite true, but this part only. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the dread Lord Conabar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conabar the jealous lord who looked on from afar. Lord Conabar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed.
Flemeth must have been angry.
The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conabar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge.
But wasn't she now married to a wealthier man?
That was not the point. Conabar had no honor, so she would not have him. Flemeth begged the spirits to aid her, and 'twas they who slew Conabar. The demon the legend tells of came later. Lord Conabar's allies chased Flemeth, you see, chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies.
What, she never invaded, or he never defeated her?
The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began.
Do you believe her version?
I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has colored her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all.
How is it that Flemeth has survived for so long?
The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her.
The legend tells of Flemeth having many daughters.
You ask if I have sisters? I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one. And these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed. So, should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too.
Why would she refuse to speak of them?
The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well.
Aren't the abominations really insane horrors?
How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand. What Flemeth became is a mystery. I suspect even to her.
That all sounds like hogwash. An interesting story. Thank you.
Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious nevertheless.
Did she die? Yeah, I think she died. My mother died a long time ago.
Ah, then you have my sympathies for what it is worth. Which is very little, I am certain. It matters not. Let us move on.
Alright. So, Morrigan. 44. Yeah, minor magic. Anyway, Costin here, signing out.